to this evening's international friendly between Scotland and Venezuela. We're live on the Scottish FA socials from the southwest coast of Spain, where Scotland are bringing a warm weather training camp to a close with this evening's game against the South Americans. I'm Andy Barge, and alongside me is former Scotland defender Joel Murray, who played 48 times for the national team. We're about to hear the anthem she'll have lined up for almost 50 times. The girls going a cappella for the last couple of lines of Flower of Scotland, and here is the team selected by Pedro Martinez Losa. Just the one outfield player, in fact just the one player in total remaining from the win against Panama over the weekend, and that's Erin Cuthbert, who is playing central midfield. Everyone else has been rotated. Of course, it was an under-23 team mainly that took to the pitch against the Panamanians at the weekend. What excites you then about this team, Joelle? There's plenty of quality and experience in there.
Yeah, there certainly is, Andy. I think the full-back areas, Rachel and Nicola Docherty will go box to box all game. They've got the engine to do that, and the front three will give you pace and creativity. So I'm really looking forward to the game tonight.
There's a vastly more experienced Scotland team taking to the pitch this evening. That, of course, comes with the territory, really, with it being a full international in comparison to the game against Panama, which ended 2-0 in Scotland's favour, with Harrison and Clark both scoring. Nabby Harrison not involved at all this evening. She's picked up a little knock, so out of contention she goes. Up front is Martha Thomas of Manchester United. Just to highlight the disparity between the experience in tonight's team and the one that was selected against Panama. 532 caps between the Scotland starting 11 this evening. 195 between the 11 that walked out the tunnel against Panama. Of course, a lot of them in the head of Rachel Corsate, mind you. She's closing in on 150 herself. But it does go to show the experience that this Scotland team has in its locker this evening, and hopefully the quality too, to see off a Venezuelan side who, just like Scotland, narrowly missed out on the intercontinental playoffs and automatic qualification for the World Cup. They were beaten by Chile on a penalty shootout. Scotland know the feeling all too well after what happened against Republic of Ireland earlier this season. But a good opportunity tonight after the win against Panama, Joelle, to try and start rebuilding and then continue the momentum and try and get 2 wins on the bounce. Yeah,
absolutely, Andy. I think that's been the goal of this winter training camp, is to kind of pick themselves back up from the defeat against Republic of Ireland and gain momentum, gain consistency, and they'll be looking to build on that 2-0 win on Saturday and get a good result, but also a good performance tonight.
In games like these, international friendlies, is performance just as important as the final outcome?
Absolutely. I think tonight they'll be looking to implement a lot of things they've been working on the training pitch. So for me, performance is something that is just as important as the result.
In Cadiz this evening, it's about an hour or so south of Seville, on the southwest Spanish coast, where Scotland have been located for the past week or so. It was the under-23s, or at least half the team, were the under-23s that got the run out against Panama. Got the job done, dominated the game, controlled possession, scored 2 more goals than their Central American opponents. And now it's the turn of the more experienced bunch to go and do the same to Venezuela this evening. A team that are ranked considerably below Scotland in the FIFA rankings, 52 compared to Scotland's 25 at the moment. It's good to see so many domestic Scottish players involved as well in these squads. Joel, obviously a league that you've played in for a long time. And the whole back 5 this evening is made up of SWPL players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important that we retain that kind of that authenticity. And tonight, like you said, we've got a back line, probably minus Rachel Corsey, who's obviously plying her trade down south. But it's great that we've got a back line, 4 out of the 5 playing their football in Scotland.
Rangers 2 flying wing backs as well, McLaughlin and Docherty, who've been part of such a successful team. Slightly misjudged by Jimenez. Safety first back to Cáceres, the goalkeeper. The camera person enjoying the zoom function here on the equipment. Looks like play has been waved on. Emsley's going for it anyway. Digs out the low cross. Breaks to Cuthbert, who likes it from that range. A couple of yards too far to the left than she would have liked.
Yeah, I think Erin's just snatched at it there. She's pulled the shot wide, but I'm sure we'll see more shots from distance from Erin Cuthbert, because she is more than capable of finding the back of the net from that distance.
As we touched on at the start, a lot of rotation this evening from Pedro Martinez Losa. And Cuthbert is the only player that's kept her place in the team. She captained Scotland against Panama on Saturday night. Speaking of the SWPL, Rogan Hay and Lauren Davidson both started that game as well. Both in good form domestically. Joel, as I'm sure you'll know all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see them. I think Brogan's first call up and first start for the national team, which is great to see, and very much deserved, because she's been a standout for Rangers for some time now, not just this season but last season also. So it's great to see that she's been rewarded with that call up and start on Saturday.
Venezuela looking to puncture Scotland's defence here though. Corsey has to stand tall, stand strong. It looked like she'd done enough to win the goal kick for Scotland, but the referees decided that goes the way of the Venezuelans, so early corner. That's Dana Castellanos taking it, the star player in this Venezuelan team. Just signed for Manchester City in the summer. Comes to nothing in the end. Thomas doing enough at the back post. Little bump and bruise, I'm sure she'll be fine. And this is the playing out from the back, possession-based football that we've come to expect now from Scotland. Joel?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Pedro Martinez Losa is very keen to build from the back and play a progressive possession-based style of football, coming through the centre halves, potentially into the 6, and then playing forward like they've done so there.
And it was arrowed perfectly from Corsey. Brown forced to cut back infield. playing a little deeper this evening. Gossey lands one onto the feet of Emsley. Superb first touch. Gets the better of our marker too. Caceres punches clear. Castellanos takes a chance, ill-advised. Emsley doesn't get the contact she was looking for. And the Venezuelans now look to transition. Speckmeyer had the pace to keep it in. And that's simple for Dana Fife, the Rangers goalkeeper, starting for Scotland this evening, earning her 9th cap. Yet to concede a goal for her club in the SWPL this season. Huge game at the weekend, in fact, between Rangers and Glasgow City. First against second in the league. That kind of sticky situation. Cuthbert helps dig her out of it. Docherty, our first real opportunity to come forward. Emsley roaming the channel as always. Docherty determined to stay on her feet. And Romeo does give away the foul, no advantage. Only 7 minutes in, it feels like Caroline Weir's barely touched the ball so far. Well, her first telling involvement to be to put this on the head of a teammate. Nodded clear. Kept in by Thomas. McLaughlin splits the lines deliciously. And then the flag goes up as Brown races to keep that ball in play. Swedish champion Fiona Brown playing her trade with Rosengard FC, who you might better know as Malmo before their name change.
Yo creo que estaba señalando. ¿Te ha parecido? Sí, sí, ha parecido.
That's the one the Scots need to keep an eye on. Dana Castellanos ships in the night with Caroline Weir. The Venezuelan signed for Man City this summer, just as Caroline Weir was heading to Real Madrid. Good disguise from Docherty for Weir. Thomas out-muscled. Fife didn't seem sure initially, eventually seized the control of the situation. Jimenez, and for Castellanos, and then to Sandoval at left back. Docherty looks long. It's too much for Emsley though. Almost 10 minutes in, Joelle, early assessment?
I think it's been good, it's been positive. Scotland always looking to play forward when in possession, and I think when you play up against a formation like this one, the 4-2-3-1, there's lots of areas that Scotland can exploit, mainly so in the kind of wide areas. So for Nicola Docherty and Rachel McLaughlin, I think they'll have a lot of freedom to get forward tonight and get on the ball as much as possible.
It's certainly something they've made a habit of in Scotland, McLaughlin and Docherty. Joy to watch at times for Rangers getting up and down the right and left hand side. Clark, the Celtic defender, in for just her third cap this evening. Well-deserved involvement for Kelly Clark, Joelle.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to Brogan Hay, another player who's been a standout at our club and thoroughly deserving of our cap tonight. And she looks assured so far. I think it will help playing with, a very experienced player in Rachel Corsie.
Caroline Weir's agility and balance takes her clear. Not Murray's best ball. Cuthbert's always looking to get on it. And that'll run through to Caceres. Just a reminder of some of the names that have dropped out of this Scotland team this evening after the friendly against Panama on Saturday. Jenna Clark and Amy Muir, who started in defence, replaced this evening. We have Sam Kerr and Brogan Hay of Rangers, both out. Lauren Davidson of City. Abby Harrison of Bristol City as well, who's missing tonight with a small injury. Kirsty Smith started at right back. Chloe Arthur as well, who was the deeper midfielder on Saturday. So plenty of options for the manager. That might head towards Thomas. It did, but the bounce deceived her. Didn't deceive Caceres though, as she claimed confidently.
Yeah, Martha there just couldn't quite move her feet quick enough to bring the ball down, but it was a fantastic ball forward, and I think we need to see more of that. Venezuela sitting in, they're playing very, very deep, so when you play against a team doing so, you need to move the ball as quick as possible to move them out of their defensive discipline.
That's another one for Emsley, who should keep that in play. One touch, followed by the cross. It's well blocked by Herrera. Emsley thought she'd won the corner. She hasn't. Emsley keeps her composure. Fife given what to do by our club teammate Docherty. McLaughlin. Cuthbert had her periscope up but could only find a white shirt. Venezuelans not too handy in possession though in the opening 15 so far. Textbook Weir. Cuthbert again, breaking the lines. Fiona Brown couldn't get there. Ahead of Carrasco. She's getting close to the 50 mark, Fiona Brown. Number 46 this evening in terms of caps. I expect her to go on and reach a half century. Jimenez sprays one for Romeo. His foot disappeared for a moment. Pamela Conti, the Venezuelan coach. Pretty revered international career herself, the Italian. 90 caps, 30 goals for her native country. Doherty cushions one for Weir. Good change of pace. Scotland's pass count must absolutely dwarf their opponents at the moment.
Yeah, they've been very patient in possession. I think they need to potentially drive and commit players to try and draw them out of their kind of defensive structure, because at the moment Venezuela are quite happy to kind of sit deep, compact, and ask Scotland to play around them and outside them and try and kind of nullify them coming through them centrally.
Shot on the turn there, couldn't quite identify who from. But it's caused a problem for Venezuela in either way. Diana Rodriguez slowly gets back to her feet. Miss Michelle Romeo getting a talking to from her coach. She's been given a hard time at right back so far by Emsley and Doherty. And they're starting to get further up the pitch for Scotland. Clark eats that one up. Weir. Just so good to watch, and the 1-2 almost comes off. Cuthbert. Scotland forced to be patient. Comfortable in possession. Maybe a chance here for Weir. Easily grasped by Cáceres. Scotland edging closer.
They certainly are. Not like Caroline Weir there. She didn't connect with the ball in an area that you'd probably like her to connect with it. But you're right. They're getting closer. They're playing further up the pitch, and we're getting shots on target.
Spickmeyer trying to get round McLaughlin. No such luck. And a fortuitous goal kick won by the Rangers right back. That'll do it.
Yeah, and I think it's moments like these, Andy, where Venezuela are kind of transitioning from attack to defence, that we really need to exploit them when they're out of that 5-4-1 kind of shape. We need to kind of exploit that, play forward quickly, and try and catch them out of transition.
I'm trying to do that just there as Emsley almost broke clear. Cuthbert. Weir. Venezuelans quite happy to afford Weir some space. And she'll pick out passes like that for Murray. Such couldn't bring it under control. McLaughlin with all the time in the world. Emsley. Past Romeo. Well, the cutback was certainly on. It was just better read by the Venezuelans. Scotland developing a habit here of being first to the second balls, which is no bad thing. Cuthbert. Arrows one for Weir. Well, one back. Emsley now. Final pass just not there for Scotland at the moment, Joelle.
Yeah, just a loose ball there from Claire. You can see what she's trying to do. She's trying to find Caroline Weir in the pocket, but it falls just behind her. They lose possession for a split second, but they regain it quite quickly, like you said, kind of picking up second balls extremely quickly.
Venezuela were beaten 3-1 by Panama a couple of days before Scotland played the Central American side. Panama do have a World Cup playoff to look forward to. So close yet so far for Scotland and Venezuela. The South American system just as convoluted and complicated as the European one. In the end, Venezuela prevented from a shot at a playoff after a defeat on penalties to Chile. Here's Doherty. Cuthbert dropping very deep to length the play and doing a good job. Brown battling to keep the momentum with Scotland and outnumbered eventually. Across came Clark. Wonderful pass for Weir. Great feet to take her half a yard. Brown, Venezuela back in numbers. And preventing Scotland from finding an immediate route through. Doherty. Emsley and Murray combine. Another beautiful pass to break the lines. Weir again. Fine margins for Scotland just now. Cuthbert shows awareness to spot Clark. Corsi for Weir. Seeing much more of the ball now after a quiet opening 10. Of course, he didn't have the patience to keep the possession game going. Have to try it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see she was getting a bit frustrated there. She was signalling as if she didn't have any options, and in those instances you need your forward players to recycle the runs, but you also need your ball players to not get frustrated and not force balls like Rachel Corsi did there. But to be fair to her, I think her distribution's been top class so far. That's probably been the only ball she's given away.
Yeah, from the central areas into the feet of the attackers so far, the passes have had accuracy with power. to make it very hard for the Venezuelans to intercept.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the ball players receiving those balls have been very good. Their first touch has been good and allowed them to play on the second touch, but I think what Scotland need to do more of is what Rachel Corsie showed minutes ago, whereby she drove, she committed the Venezuelans, and she made a penetrating pass into Caroline Weir's feet just on the edge of the box.
Scotland are well capable in possession. Had 3/4 of the game against the Southern Irish in the quest to reach the World Cup, but the all-important stats went against them in the end.
Yeah, absolutely, and we always talk about purposeful possession and what we're doing with that possession, because if you're making passes in front of a 5-4-1 and not moving opposition, then it's at those moments whereby you need to make those penetrating passes and try and play forward. So yeah, we can look at stats all day, but like you said, Andy, the main stat is the goal stats, and unfortunately in that game it went against us.
Martha Thomas just running off a slight injury after what looked like going over her ankle slightly as she tried to keep possession. Some record she's got for Scotland so far, Martha Thomas. 10 goals in 18 caps. Really has made her name as a goal scorer for the national team.
Yeah, it's quite an achievement from Martha. You can see that she's a very clinical striker, but she's got a lot of attributes. I think she can play as a 9, play as a 10. She can run the channels, so she gives a lot of options to this national team.
Venezuela have no option but to thump clear. A welcome touch for Jenna Fife, I'm sure. Cuthbert looking long for Emsley. Deja vu here for the Venezuelan defence. Doherty. Weir for Emsley. And it comes. Dropped. That'll bounce in. Will the goal stand? Doesn't look like it, Joelle.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's happened there, Andy. There was lots of bodies in and amongst that area, and like you said, I don't think the referee has given this goal.
Well, Fiona Brown has done absolutely nothing wrong there. Nothing. Scotland penalised for what seems to be a collision between two Venezuelan defenders and the goalkeeper, Cáceres. A scrappy goal, but one that, on this evidence, should have counted.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a lack of communication between the defenders and the goalkeeper, because Fiona Brown has done very, very well to find herself in a pocket of space in between the two central defenders, and like you said, there's no impact, there's no contact, and we've been penalised for a goal that should have stood.
Emsley's certainly having her say. Been a while since Fiona Brown scored for Scotland. Just one in her last 18 caps. Not sure that would even have been hers if it had stood, to be honest. It seemed to ricochet off a few bodies before bouncing over the line. Well, that's unlike Weir. Can happen to anyone, I suppose.
Yeah, it shows that she's human after all, Andy. But yeah, I think there's been a few moments whereby potentially players are looking for the second action, and in that instance, similar to Claire Emsley a few moments ago, the ball is kind of rolled out under the foot.
A rare Venezuelan foray forward then. Bissot leaves it for Romeo. They have movement. Castellanos goes back to Romeo. Speckmeyer. take a chance in their own 18-yard box. Cuthbert gets the break of the ball. Weir breaks the lines. And Thomas is fouled as she looks to hold up play. She did take a sore one a minute ago as well. Remember, Thomas is just taking a wee while there to get back to her feet. Corsey looking to play forward, as Scotland have been in the opening half hour. McLaughlin did well. Tough ball to take. Brown back for Cuthbert. Crossing angles one in. Cassidy will claim again, much more efficiently than she did 2 or 3 minutes ago anyway. The Scots harshly still on level terms at 0-0. Loose touch. Speckmeyer had forgotten to get back on side. The USA-born winger. With a let off for Scotland as the Venezuelans look to break.
Yeah, another wayward pass there from Scotland. It looks as if they're potentially getting a bit frustrated because again that's unlike Erin Cuthbert to misplace a pass like that. So we need to retain focus and be patient in the build up and try and find those penetrating passes like we have shown a few times in the half so far.
And you identified rather, Joelle, at the start though, in friendlies like these, the performance matters just as much, or even maybe more, than the outcome. Scotland certainly have put in a decent showing, looking to get a reward for it here though. Emsley crosses with the left this time. Falls for Cuthbert. Murray dances over the ball. Emsley again. She can go right or left. Strong defending from Romeo. Scottish corner.
Yeah, defender's done very well there because, like you said, Claire Emsley can play with both feet, so she can come inside or she can drive to the byline, and she's done well to read that and put it out for a corner.
The Venezuelans had trouble with one of the Scottish crosses around 5 minutes ago. How will they deal with this one? Simple header clear, no Scottish attack there in the 6-yard area. And it comes again. Flag stays down initially, now it goes up.
Yeah, I think Rachel Corsey's eyes lit up there when the ball fell to her in so much space, but like you said, as we see so frequently these days, the officials allow the first action and then up goes the flag.
And she scored such a vital goal against Hungary in the quest to reach the World Cup finals. Last minute winner at Hampden. She helped secure Scotland's place in the initial playoff phase. Cuthbert so industrious. McLaughlin giving Thomas a lot of work to do. That's the Scotland ball. Venezuelans have been hemmed in for just about the entire half. Scotland starting to tally up the corners here. Weir to deliver. And then it goes at the near post. That goal belongs to Kelly Clark. Her first for Scotland. And the pressure finally and justifiably tells on the Venezuelans. Scotland have the goal they craved and the goal they deserved.
Yeah, it looks like a training ground set piece there, Andy. It looks as if they've exploited and identified, a weakness at the Venezuelan front post, because you could see that Kelly Clark, Rachel Corsie, and I think one or two others heavily loaded that front area, and the delivery, as it always is when Caroline Weir's over the ball, was delightful, and Kelly Clark gets a clean head on the ball and it nestles in at the front post.
Yeah, a few bodies in there, but it was Clark rising highest. Emsley showed interest, Christy Murray showed interest as well. And this time the antics of the Venezuelan goalkeeper go unnoticed, and Scotland's lead remains. Kelly Clark, a goal scorer for her country in her third cap. It's a goal Scotland's dominance has deserved, really, Joelle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the possession stats alone, the opportunities,
they
here we
might
go.
get a second, and Murray lasers just over. All on her own, all of a sudden. Unable to stick the ball into the back of the net.
Yeah,
and two, couldn't have been argued against either.
No, not at all. As I was just saying there, Andy, I think the possession stats, the opportunities, the chances created, I think we fully deserve the lead. And like you said, I don't think you could argue if it was 2 or 3.
Cuthbert for Brown. Scotland hounding their opponents. That's a gift for Weir. Breaks for Emsley. She needs a bit of help, provided by Docherty. Bit too much meat in the bone from Emsley. Out it goes for a Venezuelan throw. This is the first ever meeting between Scotland and Venezuela. Scotland are making our team's life quite difficult at the moment. Pamela Conte is doing a good job with this team. Venezuela did go on a run of just 1 defeat in 9 games earlier this year. They're right up against it now, though, against Pedro Martinez Losa's side. Clark takes a chance, Corsie takes none. Murray, so agile to escape the attention of 2. Brown cuts in. Emsley's header. What a goal from Scotland! Knifing through the Venezuelans at will. This started with Murray, it continued with Brown, and it was finished by Emsley expertly. And Scotland are cruising down easy street here, Joelle.
They certainly are, and a fantastic goal from Claire Emsley, who's not known for her heading ability, but she took that one very, very well, and I don't think any goalkeeper would have saved that. It nestled very nicely into the side netting, but fantastic feat from Fiona Brown. We spoke about Claire Emsley being two-footed, but as is Fiona Brown, and she does well to manipulate the ball onto her left foot. A fantastic ball into the box, and an even better finish from Claire Emsley.
Well, she's been one of the most influential players in this first half, has Emsley. A wonderfully guided header into the side netting. Absolutely no chance for Cáceres. That's her 11th goal for Scotland and her 48th cap. She's racking up quite the ratio there. Cuthbert mopping up. A third before half-time would surely put this beyond the Venezuelans. Scotland have been looking like they could score at will for the last 10 minutes. We are for Emsley. Docherty gets forward again. Forward too quickly, according to the assistant. Another lovely pass from Corsi into midfield. That did strike the hand of a Venezuelan player. Cuthbert dishes out the instructions. No hurry. Docherty gets on her bike. Emsley spots her. Venezuelans looking to retaliate before the half-time whistle. They've barely laid a glove on the Scots though. It's been a fairly routine half for the two centre-backs and, well, by that token, Jenna Fife as well. Cuthbert. She puts a fair amount of zip on those passes through midfield. Emsley's clipped but stays on her feet. Back to Emsley. Just out of Weir's reach. She gets her toe to it now. Docherty for Emsley again. Those two enjoying the left flank. Emsley's cross, easily gathered by Cáceres. No time added at the end of the first half. And what a good first half it's been for Scotland. 2-0 up against Venezuela, and they have this game in the palm of their hands. Goals from Kelly Clark and Claire Emsley have made the difference so far. And while we're taking a little break at half-time, we'll hear a little bit about Maria Zobenko, a Ukrainian refugee now living in Edinburgh. Maria has taken up refereeing in her adopted country and has found a source of solace and support in Scottish football after going through an experience that nobody should have to go through in fleeing her homeland. This is Maria's story.
I'm Maria Zobenko, I'm from Ukraine and I'm young football referee. Originally I'm from Dnipro, from Ukraine. It's on east of Ukraine, in the middle, like between Kiev and Kharkov. It's a really lovely city. I was born 28th September of 2003, I'm 18 years old, and it was amazing life. I just go into the gym, I finished school, and before the war it's like a calm life. I have a lot of friends to hang out with them, like to go to the cinema, to cafes, and refereeing, of course. We have a lot of cities competition, regions competition, and of course all of Ukrainian competitions like Women Premier League, First League, and of course, yeah, a lot of cities championships where I worked. Football in our country don't plan to start the nearest future, unfortunately, due to the war. So I decided to move to other countries where is football now. So I chose Scotland, and I have never regret about my choice. And now I'm here, and I'm a new member of the Scottish Football Association, and I'm really happy. Got a lot of support from referee department, and of course from my new colleagues. It was really a warm welcome. I really like Scotland because it's like old buildings, really kind and polite people. But sometimes I don't like the weather here because it's always changed, but I'm used to that, it's okay. I have never lived with my parents for such a long time, and I just live only by myself, without any friends, without my family. But I met really good people here in Scotland from Ukraine too. So now I have maybe a few friends from Ukraine here, and we can hang out a little bit together. And of course, we chat every day with my parents. They help me always believe in myself, and it's just a good push-up for my future. So I try to be confident because I don't want to let down my parents, because they give me a lot of opportunities to promote in Ukraine. In Scotland, I can feel like it's a second home, because people always want to help you, want to share like your minds, your opinions, and that's really cool. So for me, I don't have any problems with communication in Ukraine, in Scotland, so it doesn't problem, because firstly, I'm really worried about maybe some conversation with Scottish people, because here it's cold weather most of the time, and maybe these people can be frozen, you know what I mean? So, but no, there are a lot of warm people. I every day read the news about my country, and it's really hard for me to imagine that my city can attacked every day by rockets, but I try to don't think a lot about it because now I'm here to promote me as a Ukrainian referee and show that we have a really good school of referees and we have like inspiration from our, our spirits, from Ukrainian spirits, and we want to share it for whole people. I also want to dedicate all my achievements here to my Ukrainian people, and it's a really big support, it's a big family, big nation, so it's my push-up there. The power of football has brought me here, so now I want to see where it takes me.
Rachel, it's been just a few weeks since the last time this group was together, and it was a really tough night at Hampden. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I think it's still really difficult when anyone brings it up, or you speak of the World Cup. There's constant reminders, as there will be continually now for the next 7-8 months, and it is hard. I think for me personally, there was so much belief that we could have and should have got a result that night. Obviously we didn't, which in sport is how it goes. Doesn't always go the way you want it to, but yeah, you have to move forward. I think it was a blessing and a curse that we all probably had to go back into a club environment, and you have to put your boots back on, you have to turn up to training, you have to get back into the groove of that, and whilst that does help you, there also is still those residual feelings that I think will last a long time. I don't think any of us will forget how it's felt over the last few weeks.
You touched on it a little bit there, but what sort of impact did that have on you personally in the context of what you've experienced so far in your career?
It was hard. I think it was probably the lowest moment I've experienced, and certainly sort of the 48, 72 hours that followed were really difficult. I think probably a lot of people at clubs saw me in a way that they possibly haven't seen me before. But you put absolutely everything into what you do. I know all of us do that within this group, not just the ones here, not just ones that were there, the broader group. Everyone, I think, over the years has pushed so hard to drive us forward, to get ourselves, whether it's individually or as a collective group, give ourselves opportunity to be better. And I think we've done that, and I think that's why we feel it's really painful to not be looking forward to something next summer that could have been really special, and instead you have to go back and reflect and work on what we can do better and how we can learn and how we can move forward, which isn't easy. It's not simple fixes, it's not something that is that enjoyable either, but it is part of what you have to do.
And we're obviously here now in Spain, and the mood in the camp, it almost feels like a fresh start in a lot of ways. Does it feel like, for you, having gone through what you've gone through in the last month, like perhaps a bit of a watershed moment?
I think there's two parts. I think it's really good to be around the girls who were obviously involved last camp and have, are ultimately close friends, people who've experienced it, people who can relate. I think it's important to be back together and be able to just look back a few weeks later. Your feelings have changed, the emotions have settled a little bit, and you can be a little bit more objective with some of that reflection time. And then I think, as you say, it's a period now, it's an opportunity which doesn't come often, where you can utilise this time to be together and try different things. And you know, so often when you're in an international capacity, there's pressure on the line. And of course there still is pressure with these games that we have, because we want to win and we want to also put in good performances that reflect what we're trying to achieve and, you know, the smaller, finer details that we're trying to improve. But I think collectively there's probably two parts. I think it's good to be back together and be around one another, albeit sometimes difficult, and also I think it's a good opportunity to see new faces, give people a chance.
And on those new faces, Brogan Hayes had her first call up here. It's been a few years since your first camp as well. Do you remember much about, you know, that first trip and how Brogan might be feeling when you go away with Scotland for the first time? Maybe those nervous kind of feelings.
Yeah, you definitely remember your first camp. That's for sure. I think mine was February, March 2009 in Cyprus. So those moments live with you forever, and you know they're special. It'll be special for her, and I'm sure. I've not had a chance to speak to her in too much depth, and I'm sure there'll be nerves, but there'll also be that excitement. And I think when you're a younger player, there's a little bit of fearlessness that sometimes for the rest of the group, it's really refreshing when someone comes in and brings that. So yeah, it's exciting. And I think the last time I saw her, she was only about 11 or 12 years old, coming through the Glasgow City Academy. So it's also good to just see more young players getting the chance and working hard and getting their opportunity.
And we have a fantastic week's training here in an absolutely stunning setting, and the training pitch is just down the back there. We face Panama and Venezuela towards the end of the week. You know, we've talked about your role as captain, but what do you hope to get from everybody, from the squad, from this camp?
The biggest part of playing for Scotland will always be that heart and desire to represent your country, wear the shirt, have the badge on your chest. And I think that's something that, you know, is always a constant reminder. It's always something that we try and make sure is integral to what we do when we're here, and people are very much aware of it. And you know, we want 2 good results and we want 2 good performances. And that's something that we need. And in amongst all of that, we need to make sure we have 5 or 6 really good days on the training pitch, because again, it's a really massive opportunity to get that time to work hard, to work on things that when you're preparing for a competitive game, you don't always get the chance to focus on some of the smaller details. So. Yeah, it's now we're here. It's really nice to just have this environment again, be back together, and it's always nice when the sun's out too.
Well, welcome back. We'll have a look at the moments that have mattered in this game so far. All the goalmouth action has been in the Venezuelan box. A very quiet evening for Jenna Fife and the defenders in front of her, in a defending sense anyway, so far. Docherty. We did think Scotland had gone 1-0 up before they eventually did. We were for Emsley when this happened, and it comes, dropped, that'll bounce in. Fiona Brown and or Martha Thomas penalised. We're not sure why, to be honest, are we, Joelle? Because it looks like a very fair goal.
Yeah, we don't know why. The overload was severely in the Venezuelan players' favour. I don't know if it's the reaction from those players that's maybe made a kind of an impact on the referee's decision, but certainly we can't see why that goal wasn't given.
Well, this came just shortly after. Kelly Clark making the ball hers at the near post to score for Scotland for the first time and get the goal Scotland were deserved of at that stage. Took a little bit longer than they might have liked, but patience paid off, and Kelly Clark has a moment to remember. And then there was this piece of brilliance really from Scotland. Started with Murray, Brown jinked inside, and then a flying header from Claire Emsley to double Scotland's advantage, Joelle.
It was a fantastic goal, Andy, a well worked goal, and it's great to see, because you always speak about and ask your opposite kind of wide players to come in at the back post, and Claire Emsley's certainly done that. She's drifted in off the shoulder and got on the end of that fantastic ball from Fiona.
She's had plenty of the ball in the first half, Claire Emsley. She certainly was industrious on the left hand side, creative as well. It took Caroline Weir 10 minutes or so to really get a grip of the game, but then she started to dictate Scotland's attacking flow as well. Fiona Brown has impacted us on the right, not just through this assist as well. She should have had a goal to her name as well. But Scotland are pretty comfortable, to say the least, at half-time in the Spanish town of Cadiz. This winter training camp coming to an end after this evening's game against the Venezuelans. Do you expect to see many changes at half-time or not long after the whistle, Joelle?
Yeah, I think we'll see a few at half-time, and I think we'll also see a few midway through the second half. There'll be players that will be looking forward to taking to the pitch and getting kind of game time. So yeah, I'd like to think there'll be a few changes, if not now, certainly midway through the second half.
We'll need to be eagle-eyed to see who is coming on and off for Scotland when the second half gets underway. Looking at the bench, there are plenty of young players there, given the nature of the opening friendly against Panama, which was made up of under-23 players almost. There were a bunch of over 23s allowed, I think 5 in total. But looking at the team that played against Panama, there are youngsters like Davidson, Hay, Kerr, Jenna Clark, Amy Muir as well, all not playing this evening. And very much in the squad though and on the bench. Doesn't look like Partino, making his name up here, Partino Pedro Martinez Losa has decided to make any changes at half-time though.
Yeah, no changes. Possibly doesn't want to kind of impact the momentum or the flow of the game, which substitutes and a number of substitutes often do.
Scotland on the attack though, almost immediately. Just about dealt with by Peraza at the back post. From one goalkeeper to the other. Jenna Fife earning her 9th cap this evening. And unless there's a dramatic change in circumstance, she'll feel she's got a strong chance of a clean sheet for her country in tonight's game. Keeping clean sheets is something she's very much accustomed to at club level anyway. Rangers haven't conceded a goal domestically so far this season in the league. Well won back by Docherty. Cleared, kind of, by Jimenez. Brown's in there. Cuthbert is as well. Hemsley was about to pull the trigger. Here comes Carrasco. Supported by Speckmeyer. Gets the better of McLaughlin. Well, she did the hard bit, Joelle. That's the first time the Venezuelans have really showed any real intent with pace and danger.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very nice play on the touchline there, and she gets beyond Fiona Brown, who is fulfilling her defensive duties, but unfortunately for her, she loses her balance at the last minute there.
Dorsey of WSL's Aston Villa. 5 WSL players in the Scotland squad for this break. Brown. No way through. Forced to go across. Hemsley's shown glimpses of her pace throughout the game so far, but there's no chance she's catching that one. Romeo took a sore one at the start of the first half. I wonder here if this is an aggravation of that. Innocuous either way. Hopefully she's all right. Carrasco goes long for Speckmeyer. That's the Scotland ball. Scotland did have the hurt of losing to Republic of Ireland in the World Cup playoff, but generally speaking are on a decent run over the last handful of games. If you count the friendly against Panama on Saturday, which technically goes down as another 23s game, and Scotland have 4 wins in their last 6, on course to become 5 wins in their last 7, unless Venezuela roll their sleeves up here. Is there anyone from the bench, Joelle, you'd particularly like to see given an opportunity in the second half?
For me, I'd like to see Leah Eddy. Slightly biased given she's a teammate of mine at Hibs, but I'd like to see Leah Eddy come onto the pitch. I'd like to see Lauren Davidson come onto the pitch. I think Lauren's been a top prospect and has fantastic potential, and she's shown a lot of kind of attacking prowess, especially at international level when she's been on the pitch. So for me, those are the players that I'd like to see come on. But like I said earlier, Andy, I think there will be more than a couple of changes.
Yeah, she's City's top scorer at the moment this season, Lauren Davidson, 8 goals. It's just such a threat going forward. Still at the very early stages of her international career for a 21-year-old. 2 official caps. And she's been a staple of the youth squads for a while now, Davidson. Here's Docherty with some time. Romeo comes across. And Docherty does enough to win the corner. A couple of ricochets go her way. Couple of extra replays for your pleasure. Of course, he was loitering. Good interplay from the Venezuelans. Just too much in the pass for Castellanos to take it in her stride. The Scots have the numbers. And all the sting taken out of the attack. And maybe Scotland can transition here. Brown's in no rush. Docherty for Brown, popping up on the left-hand side. Ties herself in knots. McLaughlin just taking a stud down the heel there. Innocuous from Speckmeyer. Murray had to be sharp. We're for Brown. Out-muscled. But Weir had read the play. Thomas thought she'd kept that in play, but not quite. Quite a while to wait before Scotland begin the quest for their next journey to a major finals, as that one just goes over the head of Emsley. Well, the schedule has now been readjusted to allow for the Women's Nations League, which should be exciting to be a part of. It certainly opened a door or two for the men's team. But the qualifiers for the next Euros in 2025 don't start for over a year. The host nation has to be decided first. They're confirmed in January. Venezuela looking for a goal back. Hit the back of the net, but the flag was raised. Mariana Speckmeyer denied an international goal by the judgment of the assistant. She did look offside from our view, Joelle.
Yeah, she was about a yard offside there, but it was a very good build up there from Venezuela, a great ball into the box, and fortunately for Scotland, she found herself in an offside position and disallowed goal. Venezuela
showing slightly more in attack though than they did throughout the first. Maybe the second will be a busier 45 for the Scottish rearguard. As Corsie comes forward, drop of the shoulder buys her some space. McLaughlin. Emsley doing her best to get out the way. Keeps it in. Digs out the cross. Cáceres can claim.
Rachel Corsie there playing striker for a moment, but yeah, I think a great attack from Scotland, great ball into the box from Claire Emsley, and the keeper's done well to read the cross and come and claim it.
Murray does well to spot and find Emsley. Doherty. Back to Corsie, who's edging further and further forward, given the opportunity. McLaughlin and Emsley on a slightly differing wavelength. Picked up by Martinez Flores. And then the long range effort is in! And Dana Castellanos shows her quality. She's their star player. And that is the brightest moment in what has been a pretty gloomy sky for the Venezuelans so far in the hour that we've played in Spain. Absolutely no hesitation from the Man City midfielder, who pinged that to absolute perfection over a despairing Fife, and the Venezuelans are back in it.
Wow, what a goal, Andy. I've just had to remove my hand from my mouth there because I can't believe, one, she's had the vision to see that, and two, she's executed it marvellously. You could see she's looked up as the ball's arriving. She's looked up. She's noticed that Jenna Fife is off her line, and quite rightly so. I mean, the ball's in the Venezuela half, and what a fantastic goal. And it gets Venezuela back in the game here, 2-1.
And she's one of the best players in South America. Dana Castellanos, just signed for Man City this summer from Atletico Madrid. And that's a moment for her to remember. And Scotland have to be on their toes now, because they were sauntering through this at a pretty comfortable pace. In steps Corsi, free kick awarded. Is now the time for changes then, Joelle?
I don't know, Andy. Probably not, to be fair. I don't think Pedro Martinez Losa will want to make any changes because, like you said, that goal will give Venezuela a boost. It will probably put the momentum back in their favour. So I think Pedro Martinez Losa will need to look at retaining continuity and consistency over making those changes that he probably hoped he would have been able to make.
Yes, Venezuela showing more energy in the opening 15 of this second half than they showed in the entirety of the first. An absolute wonder goal has brought them back into it, though. They still haven't really cut Scotland open. Castellanos pulls the trigger again from considerably closer in. Differing outcome on this occasion. Carrasco looking to find a way through. In steps Cuthbert. She has the presence of mind not to panic, much like Doherty. Emsley looks to nod that one forward. Weir eventually gets it. Emsley bearing forward with her distinctive running style. Not doing enough to win the corner. Well covered by two Venezuelans. It's our goal that separates the sides now after that halfway line strike from Dana Castellanos. All the way back to Fife. Corsi of Aston Villa. Weir. She hasn't had to travel very far for this training camp. The Madrid midfielder. She's penalised on this occasion. Well, initially the Venezuelans were extremely reluctant to launch it forward. It eventually worked out for them. Here comes Peraza. Speckmeyer couldn't keep the momentum going. And then Cuthbert goes wide. Doherty comes forward. Corsi long. Carrasco with a bit of time now. And a bit of space for Speckmeyer. The Venezuelans sniffing an equaliser here. Martinez Flores. Rodriguez wide to Romeo. Castellanos. Weir has to be strong. Scotland ball. This isn't very encouraging for Scotland or Erin Cuthbert, or Chelsea for that matter. The only player that kept their place in the team from the Panama game on Saturday. Still only 24 years old, Erin Cuthbert. She's surely cruising for a century of caps, winning her 56th one this evening. You still getting over that strike, Joelle?
Still getting over it, Andy. I don't think I'll get over it anytime soon, because that was outrageous. Like I said, to have the vision to see that, but then to have the execution to do what she's just done is unbelievable.
On a moving ball as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. She's doing all the work as the ball's arriving at her. She's looked up, she's noticed that Jenna's off her line, and first touch, and she's managed to find the back of the net from pretty much the halfway line there.
Credit must go to Martinez Flores as well for the drop of the shoulder that took her clear of Murray. Now comes Fife to smother. Offside flag was up against Bissell anyway. But Scotland in no way dominating this game the way they were in the first half. Don't recall now Luisa Caceres having to do anything of note in the second 45 so far, Joelle.
No, I don't think so either, and I think it's a game plan that Venezuela's approached the game with, trying to stay compact and tight and hard to beat, and stay in the game as long as possible, and then come out and play, and they've certainly done that and done that very, very well, because currently they're probably the team that's kind of on top at the moment. You saw Jenna Fife there with the goal kick or the free kick, sorry, in her own box, and in the first half we would have been comfortable and confident to build, but she wanted the defenders up high, and we went long.
Well, Christy Murray was on the receiving end of that challenge, but Martinez Flores is the one who's come off worse. That's why there's a little stoppage while she's treated. Young player Martinez Flores, still a teenager, making her way in the national team. And are we now seeing a couple of changes, well, at least one anyway, for Scotland. One Manchester United player replaced by another, albeit Kirsty Hansen is on loan at Aston Villa this season. That's Martha Thomas's evening up, unable to add to her goal tally this evening. It remains on 10 after what is now 19 caps. It was her drop of the shoulder that's created the, I was going to say chance, not even a chance, the space and the shot for Castellanos to grab a goal back for Venezuela. But it looks like Barbara Martinez Flores may be finished here, but also determined to continue. Can he be satisfied so far?
I think he would have been satisfied up until that goal from Venezuela. I think the second half they haven't kind of maintained the same kind of standards or levels as they did in the first half. So, albeit we're winning and we're comfortable in possession, I think that goal against will certainly not please the manager at all.
Brogan Hay has also come on for Scotland. Looks like she's replaced Fiona Brown on the right hand side of the attack. And for her first official appearance for Scotland's A squad. She did start against Panama in the friendly on Saturday in the under-23 game. Oh, and she almost latches onto that. Emsley might get it. She did, but she can't get a second goal. The first time Caceres has been forced into proper action in the second 45. He almost with the immediate impact. Hansen digging out the cross well from a tough area. Emsley for Docherty. The joy she was having down the left has been stopped somewhat as Venezuela grow back into this game. We're on the half turn. Not a bad dink into the box either. Nobody had read it in dark blue. It did look like Carrasco had ran that out of play. .15 to play in southwest Spain. Scotland on course to bring their winter training camp to a close with a win against their South American counterparts. But this second half is turning out to be slightly more difficult than the first, as Venezuela go in search of an equaliser. Castellanos, the goal scorer, back for Romeo. Shot at goal! Wider than it may have first appeared on screen. And as Rodriguez put her foot through that. Fife was confident in her assertion it was going wide. Emsley. We are trying to pickpocket. Hey, back to our clubmate McLaughlin. Doherty on the underlap. Chance for a third here. Hayes in there. Towards goal, off the post. Hansen nearly making the difference from the bench. It's a loose pass in the direction of Chloe Arthur, who's also come on. Here is Arthur. He's replaced Cuthbert by the looks of things. He did go down with an injury 5 minutes or so ago. Emsley, keen to keep things going. Great cross, and it should be 3 really. Kirsty Hansen with the opportunity to put the game beyond doubt. All the time in the world as Doherty's cross came towards her. Not long after, she hit the post with an earlier effort. Scotland seeing chances for a third come and go now, because the Venezuelans did have a flurry of strong pressure for 15. Paula Villamizar has come on for them. Up and away by Maria Peraza. Straight to Hansen. The Venezuelans have work to do now. Weir chops inside. Position A for Weir. The awkward bounce doesn't take it out the safe arms of Caceres. If X marked the spot on a football pitch where Caroline Weir would like to shoot from, Joelle, that can't have been far away.
Yeah, absolutely. That's That's the area of the pitch that she likes to hit those shots from. You could tell even before the ball arrived at Caroline that she wanted to chop back inside onto her left, and she done so superbly, and just couldn't find the angle on that shot.
Still, the Venezuelans are in it at 2-1. Dana Castellanos' wonder goal from the halfway line means they have a chance here of salvaging a draw in the first ever meeting between Scotland and Venezuela. That's arrowed perfectly for Docherty. Hansen showing interest. And then deceived by Romeo. Although one of the Venezuelans had taken up Sowen in the meantime. Two chances have come and gone now for Hansen Joelle. Easy to let that play on your mind, but also equally as important to prevent it.
Yeah, she needs to forget about it, because I'm sure in the last 10 minutes she'll get a few more chances. The first one was a kind of half chance that she done well to kind of get a shot away, but the second one she absolutely needs to do better. I think she had too much time and space probably to think about how the ball's going to arrive, but definitely in the last 10 minutes I'm sure Kirsty Hansen will receive more opportunities, and will hope to convert one.
Our only goal for Scotland so far came in the thumping 10-0 win over Cyprus just over 18 months ago. I'm sure she wouldn't mind putting a bit of gloss on the scoreline in the final 10 minutes here in Cadiz. McLaughlin so comfortable taking those crossfield passes. Justin no more. Over to Docherty. The game developing a rather pedestrian pace as it draws to a close. Maybe the Venezuelans have spent the energy they had in that flurry at the start of the second half, which eventually brought them the goal. How much does Scotland have left in the tank to go and get a third? McLaughlin again. And it came off Brogan Hay last. Must feel satisfying as a defender, Joelle, when the last touch comes off the attacker.
It certainly does, especially in areas of the pitch like that one, when it's as deep as that is towards your own goal.
Well, here's a nice moment then for Rebecca McAllister. Hearts midfielder on for her Scotland debut, replacing Real Madrid's Caroline Weir. It's another SWPL representative on the park for the national team. She put in good showings for the under-19s back in the springtime. Rebecca McAllister. And playing for a Hearts team that are doing well this season. Up at 4th in the league table as it stands.
Okay.
This evening's first goal scorer, Clark, all the way back to Fife. Corsi racking up another cap this evening. That's around 137 now for the national team. Closing in on Gemma Fay's record. Another change with 5 to play. It's Barbara Martinez Flores. She did take a knock earlier, the youngster. Played her part in Venezuela's goal by putting it on a plate for Castellanos to tap in from the halfway line. Here comes Mikerlen Astudillo for the final 5 minutes. Another one whose journey hasn't been too arduous to this winter camp. She plays our club football in Spain as well, with Tenerife. It's a short flight from the west coast of Africa. And the turn was Kirsty Hansen, who's not shy, getting involved. Joelle.
Yeah, she's not shy at all. She's done well to work that opportunity, and unfortunately for her, it just inches over the bar. But she's done well. Her first touch gets out her feet. She rolls the defender and gets a fantastic connection on the shot. And like we said earlier, we were sure that those 2 chances weren't going to be our last.
He creates a bit of space for herself, and it's clutched by Cáceres, who hasn't shown a repeat of the clumsiness which led to Fiona Brown's disallowed goal in the first half. Scotland too strong. But happy just to manage the game and try and see things out from here maybe. McAllister puts that one just out of Emsley's reach. He said at the start of the evening, Joelle, that in a friendly game, performance matters just as much, if not more, than the result. Well, how do you assess things here as we enter the final few minutes?
I think first half performance was very, very good, and like I said earlier, Andy, I just don't think we've kind of matched those kind of performance levels or showed the quality that we did in the first half. But that could be due to a number of factors. Venezuela sitting in the first half and coming out and trying to play an attack in the second half, and of course energy levels. So yeah, I think if we're looking at it from 2 halves, first half absolutely happy with the performance, and second half not so much, but we are still in the winning position that we are in.
On comes Sophie Howard to take her place in the defence, and Lauren Davidson who replaces Claire Emsley. Kelly Clark, this evening's first goal scorer, is off. Good night's work for her. Doherty Gifted to Venezuela by Davidson. Her first touch not going to plan. Murray, he's been tenacious in midfield all evening. Hansen had to be strong. Hay. Well read by Jimenez. Of course, Diana Rodriguez for Venezuela. She stepped it up a notch in the second half after a fairly quiet first. It's Paula Freiss coming on for what can't be much stoppage time, if anything. Pedro Martinez Losa's team on course to make it 5 wins from their last 7 games. Howard, Leicester City defender, across to Corsi. Doherty easily dispossessed, but Venezuela don't do a very good job of keeping the ball. Also assessing her options. Finding Hay. He gives it to McLaughlin. Hansen. Scotland in no rush to find a third. Killed by Hay. Hansen on the half turn. Doherty for Davidson. This is where she comes alive. Maybe Scotland will get a third. Doherty's shot deflected wide. And the last action of the game here could be a corner kick. Scotland scything through the Venezuelans in a fashion they haven't shown much of in the second half after a dominating first. Murray over everyone. Of course, he couldn't keep it. There was someone in dark blue taking one for the team there as Venezuela looked to break through Jimenez. This will be the first booking of the game. As the game enters its final seconds. And still, play goes on. But that's not what the Venezuelans needed at this late stage. No wins in 4 games for them. That's about to become 5. As Pedro Martinez Losa keeps building a pretty nice run of form for Scotland, albeit interrupted by the defeat to Republic of Ireland in the World Cup playoff. Hansen's shown up well since coming off the bench. Hay will collect. Briefly. But that's the whistle that brings Scotland's winter training camp in Spain to a close. And also drops the curtain on this 90 minutes against Venezuela, which has ended 2-1 to the Scots. It was a comfortable first half, slightly edgier second, but Scotland still good value for the victory, thanks to 2 headers from Kelly Clark and Claire Emsley. No wonder goal from Dana Castellanos from the halfway line, just as we hit the hour mark. Not enough to drag Venezuela back into the game with any severity. Scotland showed flashes of quality when they needed to, not least in the 36th minute when Kelly Clark put them 1-0 up from the corner. All on our own to nod home at the near post. First goal for Scotland on her 3rd cap, which must be a nice feeling, Joelle.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly will be delighted with that, as will Pedro, because I think they've identified a weakness there at the front post and they've executed it very, very well.
The second was an absolutely exquisite goal. Murray, Brown, and then Emsley applying the finishing touch with aplomb. Cáceres had no chance in the Venezuelan goal, and at that point, Joel, it looked like Scotland might run away with this fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 goals in 4 minutes there, and they probably could have added a third just before half time. So at that point, we were cruising and we were comfortable.
But here was the moment of brilliance from Castellanos over a despairing Fife to score from almost 50 yards out, it must be. Weighted to perfection in every way. But at least from a Scottish point of view, it came to nothing. And the winter break can be closed off with 2 wins, which is given extra importance, Joel, given the amount of youngsters that featured against Panama and got that vital experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think out with the 2 results, the 2 wins, there's a lot of positives to come from this camp. You can see the comments coming from the camp. Pedro is extremely happy with the work rate, the attitude and the application of the players. So out with those two results, I think there's lots of positive to take.
Well, thanks for sticking with us on the Scottish FA socials. We hope you've enjoyed us bringing you a pleasing Scotland victory. It finished 2-1 to the Scots against Venezuela.